let's talk about tax concepts that affect entrepreneurs. We're looking at different types of businesses here. And if you're an entrepreneur, thinking about the different tax implications of running a business from a different standpoint. Now, when you first think about taxes, the first place your mind normally goes to is personal individual taxes because it just affects us all. We think about, okay, filing our Form 1040, but this video focuses on business taxation. And if you're an entrepreneur, the types of concepts you should be thinking about and what it comes down to really is different types of business entities. We're going to look at different business entities and compare and contrast. As you can see, I'm separating on the screen now. There's going to be a grouping on the left and a grouping on the right. And what it's going to really come down to, what you're going to see is that we're going to have single level tax entities versus double tax entities. And I'm going to really break it down so you understand single level tax versus double tax and the main types of entities out there and what's important. Now, under single level tax, there's really three major types of entities out there to look at. There's sole proprietorship. There's entities that are taxed as partnerships. So you can have a certain partnership under state law purposes. You can have an LLC. It can be treated like a partnership for federal tax purposes, and an S corporation. So for legal purposes, under the law, a corporation could be an S or C corporation for federal tax purposes. These three types of tax entities are known as flow-through entities, single level tax, because the items of income and loss flow through to the owners, subject to limitations, only one level of tax. Under double tax, there's really just a C corporation. That's all we really have. Now, when you think about C corporation, double taxation, you should be thinking about like the evil empire music from Star Wars. Dun, dun, dun. You know, you've got this really bad thing people know about. Even people that don't know about taxes, they know about C corporations and double taxation. And you're going to learn about specifically when it comes to C corporation double taxation, there's two levels of tax. There is a tax at the entity level. That's the first level of tax where the C corporation itself pays a tax. And the second level is going to be at the owner level through distributions where the corporation pays out. So if the corporation doesn't pay out those distributions, there isn't a second level of tax. Another element of C corporations, there's special rules that can be both beneficial and not beneficial in terms of being a C corporation. And you're going to learn about those through videos that focus on C corporations. So special rules apply only to C corporations. So make sure you understand that. Also, when it comes to the use of losses is a big deal when it comes to looking at the different types of entities. Use of losses is very important when it comes to C corporations, and specifically there's special rules that apply. When it comes to single level tax, and again, comparing and contrasting sole proprietorship versus partnership versus S corporation, you have to look at the differences among these three. First thing is, for employment tax reasons, there are some benefits and trade-offs of using one over the other. S corporation tends to be the best. Also, the effect of liabilities. The effect of liabilities in terms of the limits it provides in taking losses, partnership tends to be the best. Also, use of the losses. As I mentioned, use of loss is a big deal we saw for C corporations. Use of loss is also a big deal here. And again, with these limits, it's very important. Formation. When you form these entities or special rules, partnerships tend to have the best of the rules. And finally, financing. Financing is a big deal because S corporations, you're going to see, are very limited. Sole proprietorship, of course, is just one entity. And by the way, in this video, we're talking about from a tax standpoint alone, there's other reasons to be an entity, one type of entity over another, like liability reasons. You might be saying, why is sole proprietorship even on here? Well, sole proprietorship is on here because most businesses out there are sole proprietorships, just because that makes up the largest portion of business. But of course, there's partnerships, LLCs, S corporations. You're going to learn about how each of those are taxed and what they fall into, partnership versus S corporation, those specific rules. But if you're a sole proprietorship, holding aside the issue of liability, you can only have one owner. Partnership and S corporation, you can have more than one owner, and C corporation, more than one owner. But there's going to be limitations if you're an S corporation, because you're going to see that there's special rules. The S for S corporation stands for small business, which the tax law, the theme is that there are lots of special benefits for being a small business in the tax law, just themes throughout the tax law. And the idea is that an S corporation, a small business corporation, you're limited. Not all corporations can be a small business. C corporations, Any corporation can be a C corporation. Again, if you file to be a corporation under state law, what state you're in, Florida, New Jersey, Delaware, California, Texas, you basically make the election at the federal level to be an S versus C corporation. C is just general. And again, C corporation double tax and has special rules. S corporation single level tax, and that's again one benefit of being a small business. You have that single level of taxation. So we're going to go through the different types of entities, focusing on partnership and S corporation and C corporation. And then once you go through partnership taxation and the general concepts, again, this is tax concepts for entrepreneurs. This is not meant to be tax concepts for accountants, for lawyers, for tax professionals. This is meant to be tax concepts for entrepreneurs. So you're going to have a very basic level understanding of partnership tax, a very basic level understanding of S corporations and the taxation that applies there, and a very basic level understanding of C corporations. We're not going to go into the specifics of sole proprietorships because, again, if you are really trying to form your business, you really don't want to be a sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship, the reason why so many businesses are sole proprietorships is because the owners, or I should say the owner, right? One owner, they don't even know they're really operating as a business, and then they have to report themselves as a sole proprietorship on their tax return, on their Form 1040 Schedule C, that line item. That's really why that is the case. That is the case. So we're going to focus on partnership, the general concepts, S corporation general concepts, C corporation general concepts, and then once you go through all three of those entities, we're going to tie it all together by looking at the differences, the trade-offs, benefits of what we call choice of entity, which is a very, very, very important topic, not only if you're an entrepreneur or even but also for advisors. Advisors coming to you and they talk to you about whether you should be a partnership like an LLC, an S corporation, or C corporation, and how you should form your business entity from that standpoint to get certain benefits or based on your needs and desires of your company. So with that, make sure you go through all these in stride. Taxation is different. It's part of accounting in the sense that it's the reporting of information. But tax is really law. So keep that in mind as you're going through all this stuff. Very, very different rules from accounting in many regards. There are some similarities, but a lot of differences. Keep that in mind and make sure that you go through these topics in time. Go through them. Take your time going through each of these. Again, take notes on the general concepts of partnership tax, S corporation tax, and C corporation tax. And then again, I'll also have videos that tie the package all together, looking at all three of those to show you the trade-offs, comparing and contrasting the benefits of one over the other, and making decisions in terms of what type of entity you should be, or if you're an entrepreneur, understanding why your accountant or why your lawyer is advising a certain way.